and it's, ultimately cooler heads prevail. So we thank Kirk. But I see someone else in the queue right now, and I'm thinking it's Kristen Parmalee, and I'm going to bring her on live now. Kristen, is that you?
It is.
Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were on hold for a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had with our previous guests. But tonight is a night where we, with the LMP show, we speak to special people that really, I like to consider them game changers. And, just with seeing your story, seeing what you're doing, it really moved me, and I just couldn't wait to reach out. And I want to thank you for, what people really don't realize is Twitter works, and when someone has a specific website, you send a note that people actually do read it.
Yeah. Well, that's actually great to know that Twitter works, because I'm still trying to figure out exactly how Twitter works, but that's great to hear.
Oh, my goodness. Chris, you have a wonderful story that I would love for you to share with our listeners, whether they're live or they're going to be listening to the podcast or re-aired across our affiliate stations. I would just love for you to just share with us about Decodia, about what led you to it, and just the entire journey.
I would be delighted to. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very grateful. My son, I have 3 boys, and my middle son, who is about ready to turn 12, has dyslexia, and he is currently in the 6th grade, and he was diagnosed with dyslexia in the 1st grade. Although, in retrospect, I think we really knew there was something going on around kindergarten. Actually, I just found a picture of him the other day when I was uploading some pictures at the eye doctor in kindergarten. It's because his kindergarten teacher told me she thought I needed to have his eyes checked because he couldn't read. But, in fact, it later would reveal itself as dyslexia. So, over the course of several years with my son in school, I just really got frustrated with the assistive technology that was available for kids to use in the classroom who had learning disabilities related to reading. And primarily the technology solutions that were implemented were designed for adults who were visually impaired. And what happened was those solutions would take my son away from his peers, or they would sort of put a big, giant red flag on him that said, I have special needs. And I just searched for years for a solution that was discreet and was mobile and allowed him to move classroom to classroom with his peers, or allowed him to even remain at his desk with his peers, and couldn't find anything. And I just couldn't believe that there was nothing on the market that met that need. But in fact, there wasn't. So that's when we created Decodia. I went and talked to a colleague of mine that I'd worked with previously, who I knew had the technical capability to help me design the solution. And essentially, it uses old technology. It's just implemented in a new way. And what that technology is it allows the student to self-select words and have them read aloud on a mobile device. So typically, kids who have a learning disability or a reading-related learning disability use OCR, optical character recognition technology, where an adult primarily would sort of upload a document into the computer, have it scanned, and then that document would read aloud to the student on the computer. But again, that's my son sitting at a computer away from his peers. That's reading the entire document to him. That's an adult uploading it. It's very time-consuming and cumbersome. And I wanted my son to read as much as he could. And so what Decodia does is it allows him to read until he gets stuck on a word, and then he can take a picture of that word, and the word is read aloud to him so he can hear it pronounced. And then he can keep reading.
That is awesome. I mean, I would like you to just briefly touch upon I know there was a Kickstarter campaign. I mean, what were some of the successes or stumbling blocks with starting the Kickstarter campaign? If you could share that with us.
Sure. Yeah, Kickstarter actually turned out to be a real challenge. The interesting thing is, which is the exact opposite of what we thought it would be, the dyslexia community. I'm in a pretty tight-knit group of people, and that goes beyond just people who have students or children who have dyslexia, but any kind of learning disability or learning challenge. In fact, we were just at dinner tonight and saw another family from my son's school who also receives learning resource support. And even though their child's learning disability is completely different than my child's, there's just this sort of kinship among parents who have fought that battle for their children. And I thought, my partner and I actually have a business partner on this, on Decodia, and we really thought that, that tight-knit community feels the very same pains that I do, and we invest so much in our children getting the support they need that the Kickstarter would be a no-brainer. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's essentially a crowdfunding website where you post your project and then people contribute to it. We found there was a huge learning curve just with what the heck Kickstarter was. And not only that, but many of our partner agencies are also themselves nonprofits. And so they were hesitant to ask their population to support another campaign that was actually for a for-profit company.
Okay.
So the Kickstarter turned out to be unsuccessful, but many lessons learned, and we certainly built a lot of awareness. And then we launched a beta test that had 200 users from around the world, all English-speaking countries. Yeah. So it turns out that actually Ireland and Australia have a huge sort of public awareness around dyslexia, and so they were very interested in Decodia. We had a lot of users from there. We had New Zealand, Canada, United States, obviously, South Africa. And that first beta was 30 days, and we're currently in our second beta, which is going to wrap up the end of about mid-October, and that's about 400 users from around the world.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Very, very, very impressive. And, my next question, Kristen, would probably be, how do we get this word out about Decodia? But you already got the word out.
Well, 400 is small in comparison. So right now we're still in that beta, and it's still open to anybody that goes to our website, which is Decodia.com, DCODIA.com. And all they have to do is create an account, which is an email address and a password. And they can download the app, which is available on iTunes, on the App Store right now. They can download that and test it for free. We ask for their feedback. We send out periodic SurveyMonkey questions and ask for their feedback so we can improve the application, but it's still free. Probably the beginning of November, it will go on sale on the App Store for a one-time purchase. And so anybody who's interested in it will be able to download it from the iTunes Store. And I should say that one of the things that we think is, sort of like the secret sauce of the application itself is that we track every word the student reads, which allows teachers and tutors and anybody doing remediation to sort of look at the combinations and the sounds that the student is struggling with. And so they can sort of target what kinds of words the student's having trouble decoding and provide targeted intervention.
So, Kristen, my next question is going to be, okay, so your son who's dealing with his dyslexia, so he was dealing with like a school-based support team or at school? I mean, what is the tie-in is what I'm trying to find out is, okay, so you have your company, you have Decodia. Are you reaching, is your plan or your strategic plan to reach into the schools to offer this as a service? Because right now you're testing with the user base of 400, probably globally. But I just want to know, like, what's your vision for using this tool to help others?
It's definitely in school, but the way that you get in school is from parents of children who have learning disabilities and need this as a tool in their toolbox. It doesn't replace a tutor. It doesn't replace one-on-one intervention. It's an additional tool in the toolkit. We feel like how we're going to get in those schools is for parents to say to the school, hey, my kid needs this. And so that is the goal, but it's also to make it more available to anybody. One of the primary causes for adult literacy is actually undiagnosed language-related learning disabilities, most often dyslexia. And so there's a crossover even to adult populations who are learning to read. So while schools are a natural target market, it's not exclusive to schools. But definitely that's one of our goals.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I definitely have to thank you for just enlightening us and educating us on, the journey that you've gone and where you're taking this product to and how it's going to, help so many others. I mean, personally, we have an older blog that's available on Late Night Parents, but I think offline I'm going to have to get with you to, either refreshing that blog or come up with something new because, I mean, this is definitely an initiative that, from one parent to another, I mean, we want to get the word out. And with this parenting community, I think we can. I really think we can because you're doing something special here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Dyslexia affects an estimated 1 in 5 children. So this is not something that is obscure or not in the environment that your kids are thriving in school or in their other activities. And odds are you know somebody who has dyslexia. So I think awareness is a huge part of that, and I'd appreciate any opportunity to spread that word.
Definitely. I do have one last question.
Sure.
It was in alpha, now it's in beta. So let's say of the 400 people that are testing, how long is that test period? I might have missed. If you
the second test period actually was scheduled to be 30 days. But what we found is because of when we released that second, we finished the first beta at the end of May. We went back and did another iteration of the software, and then we released the second beta early July. Nobody was really using the application because kids weren't in school. So we've extended the beta period, and that should wrap up toward the end of, the middle of October. That will wrap up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So, Kristen, if you could tell us, and you did earlier on in this discussion, the best ways of getting in contact with you, because let's just say there's a parent that's listening and they have a child that is dyslexic. What is the best way to get in contact with either you or your company?
Definitely go to our website, which is Decodia.com, and it's DCODIA.com, which is a take on the method that dyslexic children use to read, which is they decode words. So Decodia.com is definitely the best way. We're also on Twitter, and we do have a Facebook page. So we welcome comments or questions through any of those avenues.
Kristen, thank you so much. We want to give you a one-time. We want to say thank you. Thank you so much. We will be in contact. We will be working together. I know this much because this initiative is too powerful and too strong to just let it end at a 10 or 15-minute conversation. So we want to thank you, and we look forward to when this product goes live and is available, for purchase on iTunes and Android and Google Play, and we will be touching base. Okay.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Ted. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so that was KristenParmalee, CEO and founder of Decodia. As I mentioned before during this conversation, that I was kind of, when I saw what she was doing and when I saw her story, I wanted to bring it to the show and also to the website because, it's 1 in 5 children are dealing with, dyslexia. So along with that, we've been to New York with Kirk Burkhalter. We've been to Indiana with Kristen